On a seemingly ordinary Sunday, March 22nd, 2020, the sun shone brightly over Queen's Park in Bolton, Greater Manchester. Families gathered, laughter filled the air, and children played joyfully. Among them was a vibrant 7-year-old girl named Emily Grace Jones, whose innocent spirit brought smiles to everyone around her. But that day, the tranquility of the park would be shattered by a horrific act of violence that would forever change the lives of many. As the day unfolded, a 30-year-old asylum seeker named Iona Skarner found herself in the park. With a troubled past and a mind burdened by demons, Iona was a woman whose life had been marked by trauma and turmoil. Born in Albania in February 1990, her journey had been fraught with hardship. At just 22, she was forced into a marriage to settle her father's debts, a decision that led her to Kuwait. But in a brave act of defiance, she escaped and returned to her homeland. Years later, seeking refuge from her past, Iona made her way to the UK, hidden in a lorry. After a tumultuous asylum process, she was granted a residency permit, but her mental health was deteriorating. Diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and severe psychotic symptoms, she had been hospitalized multiple times, struggling against the shadows of her mind. Despite the support of mental health workers, her condition remained precarious, and she often resisted treatment. On that fateful day in March, as the sun shone down on the park, the police received a frantic call. A child was missing, Emily Jones. The officers rushed to the scene, their hearts pounding with urgency. In the midst of the chaos, they encountered Iona, who appeared disoriented and agitated. As they attempted to restrain her, the tension escalated. "Hands behind your back. Stay still," the officers commanded, their voices cutting through the panic. Iona's bag was searched, revealing a knife, a chilling discovery that would soon link her to the tragic fate of young Emily. As the police worked to piece together the events, the community held its breath. What had begun as a day of joy had turned into a nightmare. The officers quickly realized that a young girl had been killed, and the evidence pointed to Iona. The clock ticked ominously as the police read her rights, explaining the gravity of the situation. "You are under arrest on suspicion of attempted murder," they stated, their voices steady, but filled with the weight of the moment. Iona, lost in her own world, struggled to comprehend the reality of her actions. The story of Emily Jones is one of innocence lost, a family forever changed, and a community left to grapple with the aftermath of violence. Emily was not just a name. She was a daughter, a sister, and a friend. Her laughter echoed in the hearts of those who knew her, and her absence would leave an unfillable void. Iona's life story is a tragic tapestry woven with threads of pain and suffering. After her release from mental health facilities, she often felt the world closing in on her. The hallucinations and paranoia that plagued her mind made it difficult to trust anyone, and she felt increasingly isolated. Despite the support she received, her mental health continued to spiral downward, leading to a series of alarming incidents. In January 2017, her mental state deteriorated further, culminating in a violent confrontation with her mother. This incident, marked by desperation and fear, led to her being detained under the Mental Health Act. Yet, even after treatment, the shadows of her past loomed large, and she struggled to find stability. As the investigation into Emily's death unfolded, the community was left to mourn. Questions swirled. How could this happen? What could have been done to prevent such a tragedy? The answers were complex, rooted in a system that often fails those in need of help. Emily's story is a heartbreaking reminder of the fragility of life and the impact of mental illness. It serves as a call to action for better mental health support and a deeper understanding of the struggles faced by individuals like Iona. In the wake of this tragedy, the community of Bolton came together, united in grief and determination to honor Emily's memory. Vigils were held, and conversations sparked about the importance of mental health awareness and the need for compassion in the face of suffering. As we reflect on this tragic tale, let us remember Emily Jones, a bright light extinguished too soon, and strive to create a world where every child can play freely and every individual can find the help they need to heal. In the vibrant community of Bolton, Greater Manchester, the sun shone brightly on March 22nd, 2020, a day that should have been filled with laughter and joy. Families flocked to Queen's Park, where children played and parents basked in the warmth of a beautiful spring day. Among them was 7-year-old Emily Grace Jones, a spirited little girl whose laughter echoed through the park. She had just given her mother a heartfelt card for Mother's Day, a symbol of her love and innocence. But as the day unfolded, a dark shadow loomed, one that would forever alter the lives of those who loved her. Emily was a remarkable child, full of life and energy. She rode her scooter with glee, her navy jacket adorned with cheerful red and white spots, as she zipped along the paths of the park. Her father, Mark Jones, watched proudly, urging her go faster, while her mother, Sarah Barnes, looked on with a heart full of love. Emily was not just a daughter. She was a source of joy, laughter, and adventure for her parents. They had created a world of excitement for her, filled with horseback riding, swimming, and family vacations in sunny Portugal and Spain. Emily was a bright light in their lives, a little girl who embraced every moment with enthusiasm. But unbeknownst to them, lurking in the shadows of the park was Iona Skarner, a woman whose life had been marred by trauma and mental illness. Her journey had been fraught with challenges, and despite the support of mental health professionals, she had slipped through the cracks of a system that was supposed to protect her and those around her. An investigative reporter later uncovered a disturbing pattern of negligence that allowed Iona to remain on the streets, despite her violent past and refusal to take her medication. Just 3 years before Emily's tragic death, Iona had made a chilling threat against a 13-year-old girl, a warning that was inexplicably omitted from her risk assessment. On one harrowing occasion, she had stolen a knife from a restaurant and made a disturbing comment about cutting her hair to avoid harming others. Despite these alarming behaviors, she was released back into the community, and the system failed to recognize the potential danger she posed to children. As the days passed, Iona's mental health continued to deteriorate. She was labeled as paranoid multiple times, yet the support she received dwindled. A key mental health worker, Miss Fagan, who had been checking in on her, fell ill, and for a month, no one monitored Iona's well-being. Just 11 days before Emily's death, Miss Fagan had evaluated her and deemed her stable, unaware of the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. On that fateful day, March 22nd, Iona left her home around 10 p.m. and ventured into Bolton Town Center, where she purchased a pack of 3 crafting knives. Later, she would reveal to a psychiatrist that she had bought the knives with the intention of killing someone. As she made her way to Queen's Park, a witness observed her sitting on the ground, looking upset and lost in thought. Little did they know that this woman was about to change the course of many lives forever. Meanwhile, Emily continued to enjoy her day, blissfully unaware of the danger that lurked nearby. She rode her scooter with unbridled joy, her laughter ringing out like music in the air. But in a tragic twist of fate, the innocence of childhood would collide with the darkness of a troubled mind. As Emily zipped along Promenade Terrace, her father watched with pride, unaware that the joy of the day would soon turn into unimaginable heartbreak. In a moment that would shatter a family and a community, Iona's actions would lead to a devastating tragedy. The aftermath of Emily's death sent shockwaves through Bolton. The community mourned the loss of a bright, beautiful child whose life had been filled with promise. Vigils were held, and conversations ignited about the importance of mental health awareness and the need for a system that truly protects the vulnerable. Emily's story is a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the impact of mental illness. It calls for compassion, understanding, and a commitment to ensuring that no child's laughter is silenced by violence. As we remember Emily Jones, let us honor her memory by advocating for a world where every child can play freely and every individual receives the care they need to heal. Emily Grace Jones was a bright spark in the lives of everyone who knew her. At just 7 years old, she was a creative soul with a passion for drawing and storytelling. Her teachers often marveled at her intelligence and work ethic, joking that she would finish her assignments before her classmates had even written the date at the top of their papers. Emily was not just a student. She was a joy to be around, known for her kindness and ability to get along with everyone in her class. Emily's parents, Mark Jones and Sarah Barnes, though no longer together, maintained a strong co-parenting relationship. They were committed to giving Emily the best life possible, and she was their world. Sarah took care of Emily 4 days a week, while Mark cherishes time with her on the weekends, including Sundays. Mark admired Sarah for the wonderful job she did raising Emily, teaching her to be polite and well-behaved. Together, they created a nurturing environment filled with love, laughter, and adventure. On March 22nd, 2020, a day that should have been filled with joy and celebration, the family planned to meet in Queen's Park for a special outing. It was Mother's Day, and early that morning, Emily had given her mother a heartfelt card, a sweet gesture that would forever be etched in Sarah's memory. Little did they know that this day would soon take a tragic turn, marking the beginning of a nightmare that would change their lives forever. As the sun shone brightly, Sarah planned to go for a run in the park, while Mark and Emily eagerly anticipated watching her jog before treating themselves to ice cream. Mark recalled the moment vividly, saying, "I remember telling Emily, 'Go on, you can do your fastest lap,' because I used to time her from one end to the other." Emily's eyes sparkled with excitement as she replied, "That sounds great." But as they walked through the park, the atmosphere shifted. Emily spotted her mother running along the bottom of the hill and, filled with joy, called out, "Daddy, I want to go to Mommy." Mark, about 200 yards away, smiled and encouraged her to run ahead. In that instant, Emily dashed down the path, her heart racing with excitement as she shouted, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy." However, in a horrifying twist, a woman sitting on a nearby bench suddenly sprang up and grabbed Emily, holding her head down. Sarah, lost in her music as she ran, was blissfully unaware of the chaos unfolding just a few yards away. Mark initially thought Emily had simply fallen off her scooter, believing the woman was helping her. But then a scream pierced the air. A woman nearby shouted that Emily had been stabbed. Panic surged through Mark as he sprinted toward his daughter, his heart pounding with fear. By the time he reached her, the attacker had already thrown Emily to the ground and fled the scene. Mark cradled his daughter in his arms, desperately calling for help. "Emily, stay with me. Don't leave me," he cried, his voice filled with anguish. Emily struggled to breathe, and Mark's heart shattered as he tried to comfort her, knowing deep down that the situation was dire. In the midst of the chaos, Mark quickly dialed Sarah's cell phone, but she was still running, unaware of the horror that had just unfolded. By the time she turned around, a bystander had already given Mark a T-shirt to apply pressure to Emily's wounds, and a nurse who happened to be in the park rushed over to provide first aid. The nurse knelt beside Emily, desperately trying to save her, but Emily was quickly losing consciousness, her life slipping away. Among the witnesses that day was Tony Canny, who was out with his wife and baby daughter. Without hesitation, he saw the woman who had attacked Emily trying to flee the scene. Despite not knowing what had happened or whether she was armed, Tony chased after her, determined to stop her. Meanwhile, Sarah's wife handed Mark their baby's muslin cloth to help stem Emily's heavy bleeding. Within minutes, emergency services arrived and paramedics rushed to Emily's side, performing CPR and administering adrenaline before quickly loading her into an air ambulance. As Tony pursued the fleeing woman, his wife shouted warnings that she had a knife, but Tony pressed on, fueled by bravery and a sense of urgency. He eventually caught up with the woman, knocking her to the ground and restraining her until the police arrived. While holding her down, Tony tried to calm her, speaking softly as she rambled incoherently, claiming that she no longer needed her injections and that he killed her family. "You're not well. The police will help you," he reassured her, staying with her until the authorities took over. Mark later expressed his gratitude for Tony's bravery, acknowledging the courage it took to chase after the attacker. The events of On that fateful day, March 22nd, 2020, the sun shone brightly over Queen's Park in Bolton, where families gathered to celebrate Mother's Day. Among them was 7-year-old Emily Grace Jones, a vibrant and creative girl known for her love of drawing and storytelling. She was the light of her parents' lives, a child who brought joy and laughter to everyone around her. But as the day unfolded, a horrific tragedy would shatter that joy and leave a community in mourning. Emily was excited to spend the day with her father, Mark Jones, and her mother, Sarah Barnes. They had planned a lovely outing in the park, where Emily would watch her mother run, and then enjoy ice cream together. Mark recalled the moment fondly, telling Emily, "Go on, you can do your fastest lap." Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she dashed off to find her mother, calling out, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy." But in a chilling twist, a woman named Iona Skarner, who had a troubled past and a history of mental health issues, was sitting on a nearby bench. In a sudden and violent act, she jumped up and grabbed Emily, holding her down. Sarah, lost in her music as she jogged, was unaware of the chaos unfolding just a few yards away. Mark, initially thinking Emily had fallen, rushed toward her, only to hear a horrifying scream that would haunt him forever. "She's been stabbed." In that moment, Mark's world shattered. He sprinted to his daughter, cradling her in his arms as she gasped for breath. "Emily, stay with me. Don't leave me," he cried, his heart breaking as he realized the gravity of the situation. The park, once filled with laughter and joy, had transformed into a scene of unimaginable horror. As bystanders rushed to help, a nurse who happened to be in the park provided first aid, but Emily was quickly losing consciousness. The emergency services arrived, and paramedics worked frantically to save her, performing CPR and administering adrenaline before airlifting her to Salford Royal Hospital. Tragically, despite their efforts, Emily was pronounced dead at 3:56 p.m., just 30 minutes after arriving at the hospital. The news of Emily's death was a devastating blow to her family. Mark had to make the heart-wrenching call to Sarah, telling her that their little girl was gone. The sound of Sarah's anguished screams over the phone would forever echo in his mind. Later that night, Sarah had to break the news to her own parents, a moment that shattered their hearts. The family gathered in grief, struggling to comprehend the loss of a child who had brought so much happiness into their lives. Emily's death left a gaping hole in the hearts of her parents. The joyful moments they had shared, the laughter and love, were now replaced by an unbearable emptiness. Mark's friends, unsure of how to support him, hesitated to bring their own children around, fearing it would remind him of his loss. But Mark reassured them, saying that being around kids wouldn't make him feel worse. He still loved children and wanted to keep Emily's spirit alive in his heart. The following day, Sarah faced the unimaginable task of officially identifying Emily's body. A post-mortem examination confirmed the tragic truth. Emily had died from a serious neck wound. As the investigation unfolded, police began to piece together the profile of Iona Skarner, the woman who had taken Emily's life. Iona was immediately detained under the Mental Health Act. When questioned about her mental state, she claimed she wasn't well and couldn't remember what had happened. It soon became evident that she had a long history of mental health issues, which should have raised red flags regarding her interactions with children. Yet, the systems in place had failed to prevent this tragedy. When police arrested Iona, they discovered a wire tied around her feet. When asked about it, she said it was to help her deal with her feelings. A doctor later noted that her attempt to tighten the wire was a sign of her psychotic state. On that terrible day, as Emily ran excitedly toward her mother, Iona had stood up and launched a vicious attack that would end a young life far too soon. A search of Iona's apartment revealed a disturbing fact: a package of antidepressants that had gone untouched for nearly a month, with only one tablet missing. A doctor later explained that abruptly stopping this type of medication could lead to a rapid decline in mental health, potentially exacerbating Iona's unstable condition. Despite her history of non-compliance with medication, she was still under the care of the Bolton North Community Mental Health Team, which was overwhelmed with patients. As the investigation continued, the community grappled with the aftermath of Emily's tragic death. Vigils were held, and conversations sparked about the importance of mental. In the wake of the tragic death of 7-year-old Emily Grace Jones, the community of Bolton was left reeling. The circumstances surrounding her death revealed a catastrophic failure in the mental health system that was supposed to protect both her and others. Iona Skarner, the woman charged with Emily's murder, had been marked as green on a traffic light system used to assess patient risk, indicating that she was considered stable. This tragic misjudgment, coupled with a series of warning signs in Iona's behavior, led to the senseless loss of a young life. As the legal proceedings began, Iona was held in custody, facing charges of murder and possession of a bladed object. On May 26, Mark Jones, Emily's father, attended the hearing where Elton Iona appeared via video link from Rampton Secure Hospital, a high-security psychiatric facility. In a shocking turn of events, she admitted to manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. The prosecution, however, decided to pursue a murder trial, leaving it to the jury to determine whether Elton Iona was genuinely mentally ill or simply using her condition as an excuse for her actions. In court, harrowing evidence emerged from Elton Iona's time in the hospital. Testimonies revealed that she had discussed her actions with a nurse, suggesting that the attack on Emily was premeditated rather than impulsive. One doctor testified that she posed a high risk of serious harm to others. Disturbingly, it was revealed that while in the hospital, Elton Iona had watched a children's TV show and laughed when a child resembling Emily appeared on screen. "It's been 3 months. What do you want me to do? Cry all the time," she had said, chillingly detached from the gravity of her actions. As the trial progressed, a forensic psychiatrist indicated that a murder conviction was unlikely given the medical evidence. The prosecution ultimately agreed, leading to the murder charge being dropped. Instead, Elton Iona was found guilty of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. Initially sentenced to 8 years, her minimum sentence was later increased to 10 years and 8 months after the judge acknowledged a miscalculation in the original sentencing. Mark was devastated by the outcome. He felt that the police had not taken Elton Iona's previous threats seriously enough, and he struggled with feelings of anger and betrayal. "I know it's good for your mental health to forgive, but in this case I can't," he said, his voice filled with pain. "How dare she touch my daughter? How dare she put her hands on her?" Elton Iona's attempts to appeal her sentence were denied, and she remains at Rampton Hospital, receiving treatment. Meanwhile, the community sought to honor Emily's memory in meaningful ways. Her school established a memorial garden, raising over £1,000 to create a peaceful space that reflected Emily's love of nature, a place where friends and family could gather to remember her vibrant spirit. Mark, determined to turn his grief into action, joined forces with the charity 100 Families, which supports those affected by violence committed by mentally ill individuals. Sarah, Emily's mother, initiated a GoFundMe campaign in Emily's honor, aiming to raise funds for the Bolton Lads and Girls Club. Their goal was to provide children with access to various opportunities, and they successfully raised nearly £30,000 to support Emily's family during this incredibly difficult time. Despite the overwhelming pain of losing his daughter, Mark found strength in the support of his friends and family. He often took different routes to avoid passing by Queen's Park, haunted by the memories of that tragic day. Yet, drawing inspiration from Emily's memory, he remained dedicated to seeking justice for her and ensuring that such a tragedy would never happen again. Mark's determination to advocate for change and highlight the flaws in the mental health system became his driving force. While no amount of justice could bring Emily back, her legacy served as a powerful reminder of the urgent need for compassionate care and the importance of addressing mental health issues with the seriousness they deserve. As we reflect on this heartbreaking case, we are reminded of the fragility of life and the profound impact that one senseless act can have on a community. Emily's story is not just a tale of tragedy. It is a call to action for all of us to advocate for better mental health care and to ensure that no child's laughter is silenced by violence. Thank you for joining us in this deep dive into a case that has touched so many lives. If you found this story compelling, please hit the like button and subscribe for more true crime cases. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Stay curious, stay cautious, and we'll see you in the next one.